What happens the moment you stop being the nice girl? Not 10 years from now. Not in some distant future when you finally had enough. I'm talking about the moment you decide no more. I'll tell you what happens. People start looking at you differently. Some will be shocked. Some will be angry. And some, those who never saw your worth to begin with, will quietly disappear. But something else happens too. Something powerful. You begin to see yourself for the first time. Think about it. How many times have you bitten your tongue to keep the peace? Smiled when you wanted to scream? Said it's fine when it was anything but fine? How many times have you carried the weight of everyone else's expectations while slowly breaking under the pressure of your own silence? We're taught from the time we're little girls. Be nice. Be polite. Don't upset anyone. Don't rock the boat. But here's the truth. Nobody tells you the boat was never built for you in the first place. So what happens when you finally decide to stop being the nice girl? When you finally step out of the role you've been cast in your entire life? You're about to find out, because once you take that step, nothing is ever the same again. When you spend your whole life being nice, there's a cost you don't even realize you're paying. It's silent, it's invisible, but it eats away at you piece by piece. You think you're buying peace, you think you're buying acceptance, you think you're buying love. But what you're really doing is signing away your own power. Every time you swallow your truth, every time you smile when you're hurting, every time you say yes when you want to say no, you pay a price. And it's a price that never stops collecting interest. Let's talk about work. You're the dependable one, the reliable one, the girl who never complains, never pushes back, the one who will stay late because someone else didn't finish their project, the one who will take notes in every meeting, even when you should be the one running the meeting. You tell yourself, if I just keep my head down and do the work, people will notice, they'll reward me, they'll promote me. But that's not how the world works. The world doesn't reward quiet loyalty. It rewards visibility, courage, and those willing to ask for what they deserve. So while you're being nice, while you're making sure not to step on anyone's toes, someone else is speaking up, someone else is asking for the raise, someone else is saying, look at me, look at what I've done, and guess what? They get the promotion you've been killing yourself for. Niceness doesn't pay in the corporate world. Results do, confidence does, and courage does. Now let's move to relationships. Being too nice is the fastest way to end up in a one-sided partnership. Think about it. When you're always available, always accommodating, always forgiving, what do you teach the other person? You teach them that your needs don't matter. You teach them that they can take without ever giving back. You teach them that you'll accept the bare minimum, that you'll stay even when you're unhappy. You don't even realize it, but your niceness is enabling their selfishness. It's not that they're stronger than you, it's that you've trained them to believe you don't require more. And when they don't respect you, it's not entirely their fault. You set the tone, you told them without words, it's okay to put me second. It's okay to put me last. And eventually you wake up resenting them. But deep down, the truth is, you also resent yourself for letting it happen. Friendships? Same story. Being the nice girl means you're the one people call when they need a favor. They need a ride to the airport? You're there. They need someone to listen to their drama at 2 a.m. You're there. They need help moving heavy furniture on the hottest day of the year. Of course, you say yes. But notice something. When it's your turn to need support, suddenly the line goes dead. Suddenly everyone's too busy. Suddenly the people you've been bending over backwards for vanish. Why? Because you've taught them that the relationship isn't a two-way street. It's a one-way highway that always leads to you giving more and them giving less. You don't even get angry at them. You get angry at yourself because you know you allowed it. And let's not forget family. Niceness in a family dynamic often looks like sacrificing your own dreams to meet someone else's expectations. Maybe you chose the safe career path because your parents wanted it. Maybe you suppress your opinions at the dinner table because you don't want to start an argument. Maybe you keep showing up to family events that drain you because God forbid you say no. You convince yourself this is loyalty, this is love, but deep down, you know it's just fear. Fear of disappointing others, fear of not being accepted, fear of being labeled selfish. And every time you choose their comfort over your truth, you pay with a little piece of yourself. The most dangerous part of being too nice isn't even how others treat you. It's how you start to treat yourself. You stop trusting your own instincts. You stop believing that your feelings matter. You tell yourself, it's fine, it's not a big deal, I'll get over it. But over time, that voice inside you gets quieter and quieter, until one day you don't even recognize it anymore. You've been so conditioned to meet everyone else's needs that you can't even hear your own. That's the real cost. You don't just lose opportunities, relationships, or respect, you lose yourself. And here's the kicker, being nice doesn't even guarantee that people will like you. That's the cruelest irony of all. You think if you bend enough, if you smile enough, if you sacrifice enough, everyone will accept you. But people don't like you for being nice. They like you when they respect you. They like you when you stand firm in who you are. Niceness doesn't buy love. It buys convenience. And once you're no longer convenient, they move on. So here's the reality. The cost of being too nice is high. You pay with your time, your energy, your opportunities, your respect, and sometimes even your identity. And the return on that investment is pitiful. Because at the end of the day, nobody is going to hand you back the years you spent playing small. Nobody is going to say, thank you for being so quiet. Thank you for never standing up for yourself. That gratitude is never coming. The only person who can give you back your life is you. And that's the shift. That's the turning point. When you finally realize the world isn't going to reward your silence, your sacrifice, your niceness, that's when you wake up. That's when you say, no more. That's when you stop being the nice girl and start being the woman who knows her worth. When you spend your life being too nice, the cost doesn't show up all at once. It builds slowly like a debt you don't realize you're accumulating until the interest is crushing you. On the surface, being nice looks harmless, even admirable. People call you sweet, dependable, polite, easy to get along with. You smile, you nod, you accommodate, and you tell yourself, this is what it means to be a good person. But deep down, without even noticing, you are teaching the world that your boundaries are negotiable, your needs are optional, and your voice can be ignored. Think about how it plays out at work. You're the one who takes on the extra assignments, covers for the coworker who didn't meet their deadline, agrees to stay late even when you're exhausted. You don't complain, you don't push back, and you tell yourself that if you just keep working hard, someone will notice. Someone will reward you. But that's not how it works. The truth is, while you're quietly doing everything for everyone else, someone else is speaking up in meetings, asking for opportunities, and positioning themselves to be seen. While you're being nice, someone else is being bold, and bold is what gets noticed. You can burn yourself out being the most reliable, most agreeable person in the room and still get passed over because the world doesn't reward silent sacrifice. It rewards courage. It rewards visibility. It rewards the person who has the nerve to ask for what they want. Niceness may earn you appreciation, but it won't earn you advancement. And then there are relationships. Being too nice in love often means overgiving, over-forgiving, and over-accommodating. You bend, you adjust, you compromise even when the other person isn't meeting you halfway. You tell yourself that if you just love enough, if you just keep being patient, they'll change, they'll see your worth. But what actually happens, you teach them that they can give less and you'll still stay. You teach them that your needs don't matter as much as theirs. You teach them that your boundaries are suggestions, not requirements. The more you give, the more they take, until one day you realize the relationship isn't balanced. It's one-sided, and the worst part isn't even that they didn't appreciate you. The worst part is that you knew deep down you were settling for crumbs, and you stayed anyway. All in the name of being nice. The same pattern shows up in friendships. You're the one everyone calls when they need help. You'll drive across town to rescue them when they're stranded. You'll drop everything to listen to their problems. You'll loan them money, even when it puts you in a tight spot. But when you're the one who needs something, the silence is deafening. Suddenly, everyone is too busy. Suddenly, your needs are inconvenient. And it's not because your friends are all terrible people. It's because you set the tone. You train them to believe that your role in the friendship is to give, not to receive. You created a dynamic where your needs don't even register because you never made them visible. So the calls keep coming when they want something, but the support rarely flows back in your direction. Family adds another layer. In so many families, being nice translates into being compliant. You don't challenge the traditions that don't serve you. You don't voice your true opinions at the dinner table. You follow the path that makes your parents proud, even if it means abandoning the one that would make you fulfilled. You convince yourself that this is loyalty, that this is respect. But what it really is, when you peel back the layers, is fear. Fear of conflict. Fear of rejection, fear of being labeled selfish. So you suppress your truth to maintain peace, but it's a false peace on the outside. Everything looks harmonious. On the inside, you feel trapped. And that quiet suffocation, that's the cost of being too nice within your own family. But the highest cost isn't what happens with other people. It's what happens inside of you. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, you erode a little bit of self-trust. Every time you bite back your opinion to keep the peace, you silence your own voice. Every time you put someone else's comfort ahead of your own truth, you send yourself a message. My needs don't matter. Over time, you stop even recognizing what you want. You become so accustomed to molding yourself to fit others that you lose the shape of who you really are. You stop trusting your instincts. You start second-guessing your feelings. You shrink so much that one day you wake up and realize you don't even know where you end, and other people's expectations begin. That is the real tragedy of being too nice. Not that others take advantage of you, but that you abandon yourself. And the cruel twist? Being nice doesn't even guarantee that people will like you. You think if you just bend enough, please enough, give enough, then everyone will accept you. But people don't like you for being agreeable. They like you for being authentic. They respect you when you stand firm. The truth is, niceness doesn't buy love. It buys convenience. It makes you easy to use, easy to overlook, easy to forget. And when you stop being convenient, they move on. That's when it hits you. After all that effort, all that sacrificing, you weren't even truly valued. You were tolerated. So let's be honest. The cost of being too nice is staggering. You lose opportunities, you lose respect, you lose balance in relationships, you lose your own voice. And eventually you risk losing yourself. It's a slow bleed that drains your energy, your confidence, and your joy. And at the end of it, you don't get a medal for being the nicest, you don't get a trophy for being the most accommodating. All you get is regret. Regret for the times you didn't speak up, the times you didn't set boundaries, the times you didn't put yourself first. But here's the truth. You have to face nobody is going to hand you back those years. Nobody is going to say, thank you for sacrificing yourself so we could all be comfortable. That gratitude is never coming. The only person who can stop the bleeding is you. The only person who can decide that your needs, your voice, your boundaries matter is you. And until you do, you'll keep paying a price you don't deserve to pay. When you stop being the nice girl, the world around you shifts in ways you never expected. At first, it feels uncomfortable, even terrifying. You've spent years building an identity on pleasing people, avoiding conflict, being agreeable. It's what made you feel safe. It's what earned you acceptance, or at least the illusion of it. At the moment you decide to stop playing that role, the entire script changes. And let me tell you, not everyone is going to clap for this new version of you. In fact, some people will be stunned. Some will be offended. Some will even try to guilt you back into your old role. Because your niceness wasn't just convenient. It was the foundation of how they interacted with you. But here's the beauty of it. Once you stop being nice, you stop living for them. And you start living for yourself. The first thing that happens is people notice that you're no longer saying yes out of habit. They notice that you're not laughing at jokes that aren't funny. Not agreeing with opinions you don't believe in, not apologizing for things that aren't your fault. And because they notice, they react. Some will push back. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you're selfish. They'll say you're too much. But what they really mean is you're no longer making me comfortable at your expense. And let's be honest, that's not a loss, that's a filter. The people who can't handle your boundaries are the ones who benefited from your lack of them. You also start to feel something you maybe haven't felt in a long time. Clarity. When you're not constantly bending and folding yourself to make other people comfortable, you finally see what you actually want. You begin to hear your own voice again, the one you silenced for so long. At first, That voice is shaky. It whispers instead of shouts. But the more you listen, the stronger it gets. It tells you what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not. It tells you where you've been giving too much and where you need to start receiving. It tells you that your needs are not negotiable and they're not an inconvenience. They're valid. Relationships transform in ways that might surprise you. Some will fall apart. The ones built on you, constantly giving while they constantly took, those will crumble and it will hurt. But what rises in their place are relationships grounded in respect. When you stop being nice, you set a new standard. You show people how to treat you. You teach them that you're not here to be walked on, used, or dismissed. You're here to be valued. The people who can meet you at that level stay. The ones who can't, leave. And while it feels like loss in the moment, it's actually liberation. Because for the first time, you're not clinging to people who don't truly see you. You're creating space for those who do. At work, the change is just as powerful. When you stop being nice, you stop apologizing for having ideas, for taking up space in meetings, for asking for the raise you deserve. You stop being the one who does all the invisible labor no one else wants to do. You learn to say, that's not my responsibility, and you say it without guilt. And while some colleagues may resent you for it, others will respect you in a way they never did before. Because here's the truth. People don't respect pushovers. They might use them, they might rely on them, but they don't admire them. Respect comes when you stand firm, when you're direct, when you're unafraid to assert your worth. And suddenly, you're no longer invisible. You're no longer the quiet one in the corner. You're the woman who commands attention because she commands herself. But the biggest shift, the one that changes everything, is how you feel about yourself. When you stop being nice, you stop betraying yourself. You stop that constant cycle of resentment where you smile on the outside but feel bitter on the inside. You stop abandoning your own needs in order to meet everyone else's. Instead, you start honoring yourself, you start choosing yourself, and that changes the way you walk into every room, every conversation, every opportunity. There's a new energy around you, a strength that doesn't come from arrogance or aggression, but from alignment, from finally living in a way that matches your truth. Here's what else happens. You discover the power of the word no, and not the weak, apologetic no that comes with a list of excuses and explanations. I mean, the solid, unapologetic, firm no that stands on its own. No is a complete sentence. No doesn't make you mean. No doesn't make you cold. No makes you clear. And when you start using that word with confidence, you free yourself from the endless drain of obligations that never served you in the first place. People will test you. They'll push against your boundaries, trying to see if this new version of you is real or just a phase. They'll guilt trip you. They'll call you selfish. They'll say, you're not as sweet as you used to be. But every time you hold the line, you reinforce to yourself that you are not going back. And with every step, you become stronger, more resilient, more authentic. And then something magical happens. You stop caring so much about being liked. You realize that being liked is overrated, because it usually comes at the cost of your truth. What matters more is being respected. What matters more is being free. And when you stop being nice, you discover that respect and freedom taste so much sweeter than approval ever did. Of course, it's not easy. Walking away from the nice girl identity means shedding layers of conditioning, layers of habits, layers of fears. It means confronting that deep voice inside you that still whispers, what if they don't like me? But you learn to answer it with another question. What if I don't like myself? Because at the end of the day, living a life that pleases everyone else but leaves you empty is not living at all. So what happens when you stop being nice? People leave. Others stay. Some will criticize. Others will cheer. But the most important thing is what happens inside you. You stop shrinking. You stop apologizing. You stop doubting your worth. You step into a version of yourself that isn't watered down, isn't silenced, isn't scared. You step into the woman you were always meant to be, the one who knows her value, the one who sets the standard, the one who no longer negotiates her truth for anyone. That is what happens when you stop being nice. You stop surviving and you start living. Boundaries are not walls. They are not cruelty. They are not rejection. Boundaries are the architecture of self-respect. They are the invisible framework that defines what you allow into your life and what you refuse to tolerate. Directness is the language of those boundaries. It is the clear, unambiguous voice that communicates where you stand without apology. Together, boundaries and directness are the antidote to the chaos that comes from living to please others. For so long, many people confuse being nice with being endlessly available, endlessly accommodating, endlessly pliable. They equate kindness with compliance. The truth is, kindness without boundaries is self-destruction and slow motion. It drains you until there is nothing left to give. When you finally establish boundaries, you stop operating from guilt and start operating from clarity. You begin to realize that saying no does not make you unkind. It makes you honest, and directness is the delivery system for that honesty. It is the difference between hinting and being heard. Let's be clear. Boundaries are not just about telling other people what they cannot do. They are about defining what you will and will not accept, what you are willing to engage with, and what you are not. For example, if someone constantly interrupts you in conversation, a person without boundaries smiles politely and tolerates it. A person with boundaries says, calmly but firmly, I wasn't finished speaking. Directness cuts through the disrespect. You don't dress it up with excessive politeness. You don't dilute it with excuses. You state the truth plainly. And the remarkable thing is this, most people will adjust. They respect what you make clear. Boundaries also apply to your time, the most finite resource you have. Without them, you become a perpetual caretaker of other people's demands. A colleague asks you to stay late, a friend asks you to help them move, a family member calls expecting you to drop everything, and you do it even when it costs you sleep, energy, and peace. But when you put a boundary in place, you learn to say, I'm not available for that. Notice the difference. You don't justify. You don't over-explain. You don't create a 10-minute excuse. You state your limit clearly and without shame. That is directness in action. And what happens? At first, people may push back. They may test you. But over time, they adjust to the standard you set. You stop being the person they can exploit, and you become the person they respect. The power of boundaries is not just external. It is deeply internal. Every time you enforce a boundary, you reinforce to yourself that your needs matter. You strengthen your own self-trust. You prove to yourself that you can protect your energy. This internal shift is critical because boundaries are not just about keeping others out. They are about keeping yourself intact. Without them, resentment builds like a poison. You begin to silently despise the very people you're overgiving to. You smile through gritted teeth, but inside you feel bitterness. Boundaries purge that poison. They create balance. They allow you to give without depleting yourself. Directness is equally transformative. Think about how often we sugarcoat our words, dance around the point, or soften our language to avoid discomfort. We say things like, I'm so sorry, I don't mean to bother you, but maybe could you, instead of simply saying, I need this done by Friday. We waste energy trying to make others feel comfortable with our needs. Directness removes the excess. It's not rudeness, it's efficiency. It communicates confidence. When you speak directly, people stop wondering if you mean what you say. They stop second-guessing you. They start listening. Consider how this plays out in professional environments. A person who is vague, hesitant, or overly accommodating gets overlooked.